everybody, welcome back to FrontendExpert. In this video, we'll be talking about semantic HTML. When we talk about semantic HTML, the question we're really trying to answer is, does your HTML file make sense without the browser? There are tons of circumstances where somebody might need to see your HTML code or interact with it, but they can't visually see the output produced by the browser. We need to make sure that the code we write is semantically correct for these purposes. For example, when somebody's using a screen reader, they won't be able to visually see how the browser displays things, and we need to make sure that the HTML is semantically correct. That way the screen reader knows what to tell that user. While we've already seen that we can use tags to appropriately mark up our content, we need a way to show what content is associated with what other content. We need a way to group them together, and that's where these semantic grouping tags come into play. So let's look back at that example again of the blog post we had. When you look at this visually, there's essentially three main groups. First, we have the day one group, the sort of first section of our blog post. And then we have the day two group, the second section of our blog post. But then above that, surrounding both of these groups, we can call it the third group of the entire blog post. The entire article is one group, and we need to make sure that all of this code is associated with each other as well. And when we go to tell HTML about these groups, there are tons of different tags that we can use to semantically mark it up to explain what type of group it is. So here are some of the most common ones. First, we have the article tag, and this is for self-contained content that is independently distributable. And what we mean by this is content that you could take and put somewhere else on the internet and it would still make sense. For example, a news article would make sense on lots of places on the internet most of the time, not just on the one website it's on or in the one place on that website that it is. Next, we have the section tag. And the section tag is very similar to article in that it is for a thematic grouping of content, but the primary difference here is that the section tag is not independently distributable. You couldn't take a section and put it somewhere else on the internet. Sometimes we see sections as sort of subsections of an article, so nested inside of an article, and other times sections are completely independent of articles, just to show different sections of a website that are each independent thematic groups of content, but that are not self-contained and that could not exist without the other sections. And from here, a lot of the semantic grouping elements get less ambiguous, which is really nice. They become easier to figure out when exactly you should use them, and their names are fairly obvious. So first we have the header, and the header is for introductory content. You can think of this as like the heading of the website, the description or tagline of the website. Sometimes this can include the navigation links if those are all sort of bundled together in one header component. And then next we have main, which is for the main content of the website. The one key point with main is that there should only be one of these on the website because it doesn't make sense to have two main pieces of content. And this is really useful, especially if you have a more complex website with a lot going on and you need a way to tell these assistive technologies what they need to be focusing on. You could imagine if somebody was using a screen reader and they were being read out all these different pieces of content, it would be super overwhelming on these complex websites. So having the main tag makes it more clear what they need to be focusing on as the main content of that page. Next, we have nav, and nav is simply for a section of links. So the most common use case is the main links of the website. Oftentimes these are inside of the header, but not always. And nav can sometimes be used for other sections of links, not always just the main navigation. Sometimes you have some sub-navigation. For example, if you had some buttons at the top of a news article to jump to certain portions of the article, that could be a nav, but then you could have another nav that is the main nav at the top of the page that is for going to different pages on the actual news publication site. And next we have the aside tag, and the aside tag is used for things that are indirectly related to the main content. And I like to think of this as any content that you can remove from the document without making the document confusing can be in an aside tag. Usually these tags are used for content in sidebars, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it is just some aside information inside of some other content on the page. And then lastly, we have the footer. And the footer is for, just like it sounds, the footer of the document. And this usually contains things like the copyright info and all of that information that you see shoved at the bottom of websites in that footer bar goes in the footer tag. Now I think the best way to understand how to use these tags is to mark up some content ourselves. So here we have Algo News, and there's a news article here. And at the top, you can see we have some navigation links as well as the name of the website. We have this about the author section on the right. And then at the bottom, we have some information about copyright. So to mark this up from top to bottom, first we have a header, because this is the introductory content of the website, has the name of the website, as well as those navigational links. And speaking about the navigational links, we can mark this as navigation or use the nav element to surround it, because these are the main links of the website. These are the links that will go to different pages throughout the website. So it's sort of a section of links that are important. Next, we have this about the author section. And this is sort of a side content, because we could take this content out of the document and it would still make sense. You could still read this review of FrontendExpert without knowing who the author is. It's nice to know who the author is to see if it's something you can trust, but it's not necessarily information that you need to be able to read this article. Next, we have the actual article. And of course, we can use the article tag for this. And the test that we had was, could we take this article and put it somewhere else on the web and have it still make sense? In this case, it's an article reviewing FrontendExpert. And I think that would make sense just about anywhere on the web, or at least in other places on the internet. And then finally, at the bottom, we have this footer information, the copyright info, and the all rights reserved. So we can use the footer tag for this. And that's all there is to marking up a page with semantic HTML. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. You just have to get used to the different tags to use to group your content. But luckily, most of these tags have pretty self-explanatory names and are pretty obvious when you should use them. And for the few ambiguous ones, you'll get used to them more and more throughout these crash course videos, as well as throughout FrontendExpert as a whole. So that'll do it for this video on semantic HTML. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.